Welcome back, guys. We have Morgan DeNicola on the podcast today, who is a philanthropist and also, which is going to be like a good chunk of the conversation, a fellow borderline. What is up?
Not too much. I'm really excited for a fun conversation.
It's the same. I like everything we've talked about off camera. I'm just like, let's go. I also love your Golden Girls t-shirt.
Oh, stay golden. Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
that show did not get as much recognition as it should have. It was phenomenal.
I still watch it. I
Same.
watch it as I do my emails. It just gets better. Gets better as you get older.
It does, and like honestly, you catch more as you go, and you're like, "That this was the '80s. They were
This
saying
was the
shit like
80s.
that." Like,
Yeah. They were way more cutting edge than I think
ugh.
anybody realized for the 80s.
When you look back at these like shows, you're just like, "Oh my God, they were tackling some like heavy issues that like for us we don't think anything of because that's like a normal day to day." But you got to think back in the '70s and '80s, that was like.
Yeah.
But anyways, because we've already gone off topic, what 45 seconds in. Um, so let's just kind of talk about how did you get diagnosed? Like, were there signs? Did you have a gut feeling? Was it like oh, that's what's the issue kind of thing?
It started out as when I was a kid. It just seemed like I was a little in my own world, but also incredibly emotional, like very, very quick to emotion, but a little bit more than everybody else. And I was having like these attachment issues. I would get super attached super fast, or I wouldn't attach at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until high school and I started having like panic attacks and realizing that I was starting to have kind of those distorted perceptions. And then when I was in college, I started dating somebody that was like, hey, love you, but I think that you should talk to my therapist. Come with me and we'll have a conversation. And in talking to their therapist, they were like, we'd like for you to kind of stay talking with us. And I found out that I had BPD, and it started years on and off, different therapists, different medications. And then finally, I found my late 20s, my like perfect therapist that got me. We aligned, the stars aligned, and we finally were able to get me moving in the right direction to be a functioning adult.
Yeah, I like it's funny how you were saying all of that because I was like immediately thinking, like looking back, like I always got told that I was a very sensitive child and I was a drama queen and I just, had all the dramatics. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, pretty sure that was, the borderline. But obviously nobody knew what it was at the time. We just thought I was a dramatic little shit growing up, you know.
Same.
But like finding like I'm sure you know this, but like finding a therapist is almost like dating.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
hard to find one that you click with.
And also that you can be so honest and, like, the same way in a relationship, how you can get
Mhm,
angry and, like, storm out, but you always come back.
mhm.
It's kind of like that you trust what the person's saying, but also, like, you can really be honest and you don't feel judged, even though it is kind of their job to slightly be judging you.
They have to be like, what's a better way we can do that?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and, like, do you think that was the best response? And deep down, they're like, "That is some crazy shit,"
Yeah.
but, luckily, I found, my therapist that I went to for, probably, like, 10 years, and we did behavior modification therapy, and, he was awesome, like, he helped me first get on more appropriate drugs for me.
Mhm.
But then he listened when I said I wanted to get off these, and he worked with me, to really kind of find methods that worked, and he tolerated me through the me yelling and storming out and not talking to him for, like, a few weeks after that, and then kinda coming back being like, "Maybe you were onto something." Uh, he really tolerated that those ups and downs really, really, really well. And then he retired, but we're oddly still friends. And he's always like, I'm only a text away. So yeah, we have a really I used to always tell him, you know, I like think we would be friends outside of the patient doctor situation.
That's how I feel about my therapist. I'm like, you would literally be like my bestie if you weren't my therapist.
Yeah. Yeah, you also have to draw those
Yeah,
lines.
like, you know. So, oh my God, there were times where like they would block out like an extra 15 minutes because we wound up on the same For You pages on TikTok. So we would like go over like the one like controversy that was going on, and we were just like, oh my God, did you see this? Did you see this? And then be like, okay, now we have to be professional here. But it was just really nice to kind of have like those icebreakers, even though I've known them for literal years.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think also like I don't know if you can agree with this, but I kind of had the dark humor joke going because I kind of went through like the state hospital. Um so in that, like the turnover rate for therapists is pretty high. And I think I went through 3 or 4 in like the span of a year and a half, and I'm over here like, this is probably not helping my abandonment issues that like I have to find a new therapist every like 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely, yeah, it's like constantly going through a breakup, like, "Why am I not good enough? Why?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the same, I think, emotional response to, your engagement with your therapist as you definitely do with a partner.
And then once you heal enough, you're like, "Oh no, their job was absolute shit. No wonder they left. I would have encouraged them to leave too." Like, I never got like upset with them, but it was just like, "Oh, here we go again." Like, I gotta give a new person all the lore and all the history, and
From day one, yeah.
and it's just like I don't want to go over this again. Oh,
Don't you
now
get notes from the previous doctor? Like,
I
isn't
feel
there
like
a file?
yeah, like I feel like you do, but then they're like, "Well, I want to hear it from you," and I'm like, "No,
I'd rather
no."
you take the cliff notes.
Honestly, at this point, like I'm literally, if I ever get a new therapist, I'm gonna be like, here, I have a podcast where I've literally aired out 90% of my shit. Go listen to it and then get back to me because I'm not
Yeah.
talking about this again. You know?
Yeah. Here's your homework. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like I know I'm supposed to have the homework, but like here's yours. So, when it came to like the medication end of things, did I know you said you kind of found like something that worked. Did they put you on like a bunch of mood stabilizers and stuff? Because they always put me on like bipolar medication, and I'm like, I don't think like it's going to help with the mood swings. I don't think so. No, no, they don't.
I was also struggling with panic attacks and depression.
Hmm.
So it was like they were trying to medicate 3 things, and so I had one of those pill dispensers, and I had so many different pills. I'm loving your cat in the background. Um, just hitting at your sign.
I'm literally
Um
watching it, and I'm just like, please don't chew on the wire.
So I was on all different kinds at one point, um, they had me on an antipsychotic. Now,
Mm,
I was never, aggressive.
right.
Like, there was never anything that I would think, but they were like, "Oh, no, we've seen good results with this antipsychotic, with people who, have BPD," and I was just like, "This is a little crazy." And for me to use, again, that word crazy, but, like, this
Right.
is a little extreme. I'm not setting anything on fire or, like, breaking things, or I just cried a whole lot
Yeah.
and, had abandonment issues, and I wouldn't see things super clear. So, like, I would project a lot of my emotions in situations, or I would make assumptions being like, "No, they said this," when nobody said that. So it wasn't, but that was probably the craziest medication that I was on, because it made me a zombie, uh,
Ugh.
and super tired. Like, you were supposed to take it at night, and, the first time I got it, I didn't read the package, and I took it as I was driving, and I had to pull over, because it hits you that fast, and I had to, like, have a friend come and drive my car, and it was just, and then I flip it over, and it's like, "Do not operate motor vehicle, may cause drowsiness," and I was like, "I probably should have read that first." But yeah, I had been on so many different mood stabilizers, things to help with the panic attacks, things to help with, depression, that it just, like, everything kind of Yeah, it would stop you from having those breakdown cries where you couldn't even breathe, no sound was coming out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would stop those. But then I was just like,
Everything else is stopped as well.
there was no pleasure. There was no like I wasn't happy. And I think that's something that a lot of people have this misconception, especially like with an antidepressant. Oh, you're going to be happy. No, that's not how it works.
What's
Yeah,
not?
it just stops you from like, it stops you, but then
Yeah.
you're just there. It's like, "Okay, I didn't crash. I don't crash, but, like, why am I not with the
I
rest of the world up here?"
Yeah, I tell people when it comes to antidepressants, I'm like, look, no pill is a cure. The best it's going to do is make things happen a little less frequently. And when they do happen, a little less like wide range. It's not going to be as bad. I'm like, that's all it's going to do. It's really going to like just kind of take the edge off and like, because like I mean, full discrepancy. I'm on Wellbutrin now, mostly because my ADHD. I can't be on Adderall or Concerta. It's just like it's not a thing. Crippling panic attacks, like absolutely
Mhm.
not. So I'm on Wellbutrin, and I'm noticing that even like especially with like my PMDD, like of how bad I crack. Like I'm not sure if it's my PMDD or like leftover BPD or whatever. I say leftover because like it's not as bad as it was. Um, but those crashes like the week before I start my period is like it's almost literally like hide the sharp objects. Like it gets really bad. It got really bad in January and then I upped my meds and now like I feel like really sad and kind of pissed, but I'm like, "Oh, I made it through. Like I made it through this week. Like,
You can
whew, we're
it
okay."
doesn't drop
Yeah.
so bad that you're not at least rational in your thinking. You can
Yeah.
rationalize through
Yeah.
the downfall, we'll say.
Exactly. But I'm still not shedding glitters and rainbows. Like it's not
No,
happening.
no.
So
Yeah,
that's that's the best you're gonna get.
yeah, and I don't think that they, like, explain that. You explain the depression, you explain the breakdowns, you explain all that, and they're like, "Oh, here it is." And you're like, "Oh, here it is. So I must not be sad anymore." And it's like, that is the furthest thing from what actually happens. It's just like, no, you can think maybe 20% clear. Oh, okay. And you can get yourself off the floor and go to work. Oh, okay. I wish they kind of specified that, but then was having crazy side effects to all of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Those
it's
side
yeah.
effects are bad.
th- The fact, what is, we'll just have complete and total transparency. One of the happiest things as an adult for you to experience when you're in a relationship is an
Sex.
orgasm,
That
right?
too.
It's sex.
Yeah.
That's the great way to get your endorphins going and to connect with another person. When you're on meds that take that also away from you, it's like, well, wait a minute. That was the little joy that I had.
Right. Like, you shouldn't have to choose between, like, what little joys you still have in life and not wanting to, like, yeet yourself off a bridge. It should
Right?
not be those 2 extremes.
Yeah. And that was the another problem. I'm like, this is screwing with my relationship. Not only does my BPD and my abandonment issues uh have an effect on my relationships, but now you're either having a crazy sex drive, which is but you can't,
Mhm.
come to completion,
Yeah.
or you have no sex drive and you also can't. So it's like any partner you're with is like, wow, this is crazy too. And you try to explain it because they automatically is like, is it me? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's me.
Yeah, and you can only explain it's my meds so many times before it
Yeah.
becomes a problem. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, like, I know the one medication I was on was great for my brain. I gained 45 pounds on it.
Yes, that's another thing. You start to fluctuate in your weight and you either want to eat everything or it makes you not want to eat anything. And you're like, did I eat today?
Yep.
And that's not healthy for your body and your mind as well. And it's that just going, I went through the gauntlet of all of that. Every side effect listed on those, I would have one and then we'd change it. And then you'd start that roller coaster all over again where you have to like monitor yourself. And
Yeah,
you're like, who let me adults? It's,
literally. Like, I'm not qualified.
yeah.
Like,
Well, how do you feel today? I can't even tell you anymore how I feel about anything. And
Literally.
it got weird, and and trying to ask somebody to walk hand in hand with you through that weirdness is incredibly difficult as well. So
Yeah.
it affected everything, you know?
Yeah, like, you feel like you wanna take that time and, like, focus on yourself because you don't wanna drag another person through it, which is valid. Um, and, and then, like, on the flip side, like, there's also the weight loss with medication, but everyone thinks that's the good one. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're gonna be so skinny." Do you know how expensive jeans are?
Yes. Yes.
Like, even the Old Navy sale, because I just wound up losing weight from these meds. I just bought new jeans, and, like, $150 later, I'm like, I literally have to have, like, 4 different sizes of jeans in my house
And you
depending
have to
on what
keep them.
medication I'm on.
Yeah, you have to keep them. That's the
Oh my
thing, is
god.
you never throw them out. You're like, "Okay, this is this jean, this is this pant, and this is for if we go back this way," and you have to kinda, like, prepare for that, and it's also,
Mhm.
like, everybody comments. This is one of the craziest thing is if you gain weight, people comment, and then if you lose weight, all of a sudden people comment as well, like, you're looking a little thin." I got that so many times when I was at my thinnest, and I wasn't telling people like, "Hey, like, this is me figuring out meds and figuring out me getting my life together." But the amount of people that were like, "You look really thin," and it's like, "Well, fuck you." Like, I'm trying to
Right.
figure my shit out, and you commenting on this is not helping me on my journey.
Family member flat out, like, asked my sister if I was on something,
Yeah,
and she's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, Adderall." Adderall and
Prescribed.
planning a wedding, that'll make anybody like, "Whoop."
Yeah, yeah,
You planned a wedding or, like,
I
did you guys
did.
yeah, you're just not anything.
Well, we kinda handed it off because we originally just wanted to, like, do an eloping in a backyard and have a
That's what I wanted to
barbecue with,
do.
like, 10 people, and then, my family was like, "No, you need." So we only made a few of the decisions, and the rest I handed off to my mom.
I
My
I'd
mom
love to s
mostly
yeah.
planned it.
I'd love to say I planned my wedding, but my sister did 99.9% of the work. I made a couple phone calls and went, "You know me, whatever, I don't care. Just tell me when to show up." I was literally the groom in the situation, like, and then the groom was somewhere. But, but, like, yeah, that's the thing is, like, you can't even, like, figure out how to make your brain function without a million people commenting, and then as a woman, that doubles down, like, if you're losing weight, if you're gaining weight, if you have a sex drive, if you don't have a sex drive, like, good look, can we just, like, figure out how to not eat ourselves off a bridge in peace, please?
Yeah. Yeah, like, that's when you wanna just say to somebody, "I'm just proud I got out of bed."
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know what it took for me to put on something that wasn't sweatpants? Or
Mhm.
eat something that wasn't a Pop-Tart? Like,
Or brush my teeth.
yeah,
Like,
it takes so much more effort, and it's not a laziness, it's not it's not these horrible ideas, it's really just so difficult, and you have that voice in your head that's like, "Well, what's the point?
mhm.
Why? And you're gonna have to do this again, and you're gonna feel like this again, even if you have a good day, you're gonna feel like shit again, so why get out of bed when your blankets just feel so nice?"
Mhm.
But I'm also
And
incredibly lonely.
yeah. No, I think that's the thing too is, like, I know with my mental health, like, obviously you at some point you're cured from borderline and you're in remission and, you don't have as many symptoms or as severe of symptoms and blah 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 blah. But, like, if you still struggle with the splitting end of things, it's almost like you can't enjoy something that you love because in the back of your head you're like, when am I going to look at you randomly at 3:30 on a Thursday and be like, no.
Mhm.
And you don't know why I did that a couple of times in my marriage where I just couldn't stand my ex-husband for a couple of months. And I was like, I know it's just my brain. I know it's just my BPD. I know. And then, like, literally, I remember 3:33 on a fucking Friday. I looked at him and just felt all of the I love you feelings in the world. And I was like, I fucking hate this. It was horrible because I had no control over it.
Yeah,
And
I
it
think,
sucked.
luckily, we've been married 5 years now, and that's only happened once, and,
Mhm.
I immediately, I've worked so hard on learning to be have a conversation with yourself when you're getting to those weird points,
Mhm.
and it happened one time, and I kind of said to myself, like, "You know, this isn't true. This is another one of those moments
Yep.
where you're having a completely and totally distorted, silly." I think we had, like, an argument, and it was, like, a really silly argument too,
Mhm.
and it was like, "Oh, she doesn't love me anymore." And
Yeah.
and then I had that moment, I was like, "Oh, this is it," and it's like, "What the hell?" Like, no, you had a stupid argument, and you're gonna go on, and it's true, like, 20 minutes later, we were laughing and everything was fine, and I think we ordered dinner. Like, it wasn't anything
Yeah.
crazy, but yeah, having those moments where you can turn on a dime and not trust your own feelings is bizarre.
Yeah, and it's always in the back of your head. You're like, "When is this gonna happen next?" Like,
Mhm,
things are going good, when is the shoe gonna drop? And sometimes I can kind of predict it. You can't predict a split, end of story, but sometimes I can, like, understand that I'm under a lot of stress, which means I'm not gonna be able to, like, emotionally regulate as well.
mhm,
So I know that there's and, like, in the back of my head, it's more likely that a split of some sort is gonna come. And it's not always a "I love you, I hate you" kind of split. It's like it can be a very black and white of like everything's great to you, everything's shit, and like it's never gonna get any better kind of thing. So when I'm like under a lot of stress and stuff, I'm like, I have to like constantly remind myself, like, okay, there might be one coming, you're fine, it's just your head, you're gonna get through this. But it's exhausting because you're like, I've done all the work, I've done this, and like your brain is just your own worst enemy. And it's like, what the fuck?
all the things that you're taught to trust.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer able to use them as, like, your North Star, or, "Oh, trust
Yep.
your gut." Can't do that. "Trust your brain." Can't do that.
No.
S
I'll trust my
Yeah.
ex before I trust my brain.
Yeah, and that's when you have those people that you do trust, that you call in, that you're
Yep.
like, and luckily, one is my wife. She's just always incredibly honest with me, and that's when I'll be like, "I'm feeling weird." And
Yeah.
then she goes, "What does that mean, feeling weird?" But now it's just a word that I use, is "I'm feeling weird," and she'll go, "Okay." And we know what I need to, like, do, or we're, like, prepared for that kind of thing. And even, like, I have one really good friend, and I'll just message her, "Funk."
Mhm.
And she knows, she's just like, "Okay, when are we getting together?" And, it's having those people that you can trust to kind of help you kind of,
Yeah.
be on those rocky seas is just so important, because you can't trust yourself in those
No.
moments.
I mean, my sister has joked that she knows when it's getting bad because I practically move into her house. Like, my brother-in-law will just open the door and go, "You again," in the most loving way, but he's just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
your sister's here." She's like and she'll always be like, "Yeah, I forgot to tell, Mike that you're here." I'm like, well,
I'm
ta-da."
here.
Like, but that's the thing, like, that's my one person I can 1000% trust to be like, I don't even have to say it's getting bad again. I just will call her and be like, "Hi, I'm coming over."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if it's like every day for a couple of days, she knows it's bad and we're just gonna get through it and we're not really gonna talk about it because I don't want to talk about it. We just know it's a thing and we're gonna go, and then I'm only going to her house like 3 days a week instead of 7. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of start to regulate again. You start to
yeah.
kind of get back on track. Yeah, it's always great to have those people, and that know you and don't make you talk. Like, that's another thing, is a lot of people, "Oh, you wanna talk about it?" The last thing I want to do is talk about the fact that I'm feeling weird. I don't wanna think about it. I don't wanna talk about what is going on in your life. Make me laugh. Let's just go do something that we forget that we live, and that's what we're doing. Don't let me live too much and go a little too crazy. There's also that, because
Yep.
that was a thing before I started to be able to regulate, was you 0 to 60 and throw caution to the wind, and, like, "I don't know what this is, but we're gonna do it."
Right. Yeah, no, the bender days were
Yeah.
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 Those were fun, said literally nobody ever. My family literally thought they were gonna ID me via toe tag at some point in life, and I'm just like, now I'm responsible. But yeah, I mean, and like it's not that we don't necessarily wanna talk about it, I mean, we don't, but when we say things out loud, we know it sounds absolutely batshit
Bit
insane to a
crazy.
rational
Yeah.
person. We're getting
Mhm.
so upset over this minor thing, and to non-BPD or, like, more rational brain people, they're just like, "Really?" You know, they're trying to be supportive, but you can see it in their eyes that they're like, "This bitch." You
Yeah.
know, like, and they just don't get it. They try their best, and I give them all the credit in the world for trying, but, like, they just kinda look at you and they're like,
It's also exhausting for them.
Yes.
Like, I look back at some of I actually thank my friends when I started to kind of notice the things that I did and was able to kind of rebuild friendships that I had kind of lost, where they had pushed me away, and I was so angry in the moment, like, "You're abandoning me. You're leaving me when I need you the most." And later on, I realized, like, you were self-preserving.
Oh, yeah.
That was you did the right thing by not wanting to spend as much time with me and not being there because it's like I was sinking and I was just grabbing you and wanted to pull you down with me. So it's
Yep.
also nice, I tell them all the time, like, thank you for doing that. It's not something that I'm angry at. I'm glad because it took me hitting that bottom and being like, why is no one around me?
Mhm.
And what is going on to make you kind of have that moment that's like, oh, this is rock bottom.
Yeah.
This is what they were talking about. And I finally found it and I hate it, and I need to change stuff. And that was kind of those that was in those moments when I was like, it's time. And I was
Mhm.
really lucky that my dad so gently waiting in the background was like, I know this guy and he's right up the road. And maybe you want to talk to him. And my dad helped me through all of that because when I reached some real scary moments, sitting on the edge of the bathtub moments.
Mhm.
He I would call him. I would call my dad and I never thought it would have been him, but I would call him sobbing. And that must have been so scary for him. Uh and finally he was just so gentle because you can't push a person like that. It needs to kind of be their idea and they need to be at that point that they're ready
Yeah.
for that whole journey.
Mhm.
That he just kinda so gently was like, "Hey, so I love you. Can you just go talk to my friend over here?" And
Yeah.
turned out being the best decision that I ever made because now I can hold relationships. I'm happily married. I have great friendships and I have a great career. But,
Yep.
like, I don't think I could have had any of that without, some very gentle hands being here.
Absolutely. No, I would not be here if it wasn't for my sister, and I say that a million times, like, a day, because she helped when she didn't even realize it. She learned some things about when I was 20 a couple of years ago, and she was like, "Yeah, I had no idea that, like, I walked in on an attempt," and I'm like, "You did."
Yeah.
And, because I couldn't swallow pills to save my life, so it was a slow process that she walked in on, and that's why I'm here today. But also, she was just always that silent, but, like, brutally honest in a gentle way kind of person. Like, when I first started this journey, I was like, "Alright, where am I fucking up?" And she told me, she's like, "Look, you're a train wreck here, you're a train wreck there." And she's like, "I'd tell you more, but we're gonna start there."
Yeah.
And then when we got there, then and, like, I mean, still, she'll call me on my shit whenever I need to, or whenever I need to be called on it, and which is, like, we're down to, like, every couple of months instead of, like, 3 times a day. So, but that's the thing is that support system is everything, absolutely everything, and I'm so grateful that I have a support system because I could have very easily been one of the people that had to create their own support system, and that I don't know if I would have been able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really a blessing. My brother's the same way. My brother and my dad really were amazing when I started the journey and kind of they still check in here and there, but my I think my family's just absolutely amazed at how in 10, 15 years I just completely was able to kind of get myself to turn
Yeah.
around and get where I needed to be. But it was them being very gentle and never using anything that ever happened against you. And I think that's such an important
Yeah.
thing is it never gets brought back up again. it never, unless like I bring it up in a humorous kind of way.
Right.
But they're just so amazing about that and never allowing me to live in the past. And even my friends from my past that saw me through all of this, I'll be like, man, I was a hot mess back
Yeah.
then. The ones that I still am very close with are so loving, and they're like, "No, you weren't. You were still such a love." And, it's just still encouraging of all the tough times and still being there and still viewing you as like this awesome person. It's like that's so needed for that process of getting yourself out of a dark place and feeling like I'm worthy of love. Those are the people that make
Exactly.
you feel that way. Like, "Oh, okay."
Well, because like deep down, we're good people. We just had to literally like take a machete to the Amazon jungle that is our fucking brain. Once that was cleared, who we are as people could shine through without all the bullshit. But it takes a lot of unpacking, a lot of healing, a lot of very harsh truths, and a lot of facing the fires you fucking started.
Your own. Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was
the worst part.
100% you.
That's the
Yeah.
worst part is, like, looking back and being like, "Wow, I was a absolute asshole to
Yeah.
XYZ. I
Mhm.
did this, I took advantage of this person." And it's
Nasty when I didn't need to
yeah,
be, judgmental when I never should have, and, yeah, yeah. It
and
definitely, that honesty is so important.
it is, and it can, like, bring a person, like, down, but I was like, "I'm not that person." You have to constantly remind yourself, "You're not that person anymore. You're doing better." And there's always gonna be at least one person that will never take you out of that box.
No, I still have a few of those, yeah,
Me too.
that
Uh
you've tried to apologize for your past behaviors, and they just tell you to fuck off, and that you're still that person, and you're just like, "Man, I tried so hard to make an amends for the crappiness and that
Yeah,
I did, that I'm aware of," and there are some people that will never forget, and that's okay. I mean,
yeah.
that's really okay.
Yeah, nobody's required to accept your apology. Sometimes what you do is too far,
Mhm.
and that's fine. And I've had to learn that the hard way too. But it's also just not even the people that you needed to apologize to. People that just don't like you,
Yeah.
that want to like see you as the person you were 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you will never get out of that box with them. And it can suck because you're like, "You don't see all the work I've done? Like, you
Yes.
are the only person that still sees me like this, and I'm taking the majority vote on this because I'm literally my own worst critic, and even I can say I'm not that shitty anymore." And, you always have that one person, and I just have learning to let it go because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to change their mind. They're gonna think what they think.
Yeah. And that's fine. Like you said, nobody's obligated to forgive you for the
Mhm.
things that you've done, and the people who are meant to be in your life, and really have an understanding of like, hey, you're not that same person. You have made all these changes. You have done all of that work and all of that growth and all that personal honesty, that we loved you, and will continue to love you, but we definitely like this version of you way more.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that I had made a lot of changes in my life when I was able to, like, watch my nephew, and my sister didn't have to think twice about it, and that's what made me realize I have come a really long way because me 5 years or not even 5 years ago, because he's a little bit older, but, um, like, 10 years ago, that would have never happened. Absolutely would have never happened, and the second she got pregnant, I was like, "I need to get my shit together because I am not gonna not have a relationship with this kid." So I busted my ass and I still had, some growing pains to work out over the last like, the first couple of years, but I would say honestly probably from like 29 to now. So the last like 4 years is when I've really like taken a turn, unpacked my shit, faced my shit and just kept it moving.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was around the time no, it was a few years after. Probably like 3 years after my first niece was born,
Mhm.
was when I really, like, I was getting better, but that was when you saw like the drastic kind of
Yeah.
change in me. I would probably like around 2016
Yeah.
was when I really kind of like started putting in some drastic work, and made complete and total changes. And I guess the moment I realized a lot of it changed was when um different career paths opened up to me, and like I started to do really interesting things with interesting people, and having people like listen and understand and being able to connect with more people. Like, that was the moment that I realized I had just done such a crazy pivot, and that was when I started kind of, like, using it. Like, it can be used as a tool to help you in certain jobs and certain like, because it makes you more relatable
Right.
in a lot of ways, and I feel like I'm much more, because I have an understanding of, like, "Wait a minute, I've had distorted perceptions. I'm much better with it, but, like, maybe this person's having distorted perception," or I've met so many people that have personality disorders or some type of disorder that I have a little bit more patience and tolerance and that empathy, because, like, I know what that feels like, and
Mhm.
you're also able to identify it a lot faster
So
in
fast.
other people, and you're like, "Oh, oh, oh," and you're
Yes.
able to kind of, like, you don't say anything. I don't call people out on it, but, like, I'm like, "You are in my world of personality disorders." Like,
Mhm.
I see it, I know what's going on in your head right now, and so, like, I know the things to not say
Yes.
or to say, to make you more comfortable around me, because I had that, like, "Oh, I know what that feels like, and I don't want you to feel that way around me, but I see you." You
Yeah.
give them kind of that look like,
Yeah. No, I feel like sometimes when you're in therapy long enough, you have, like, your honorary therapy diagnosis or
yeah,
not diagnosis, degree.
yes.
Words are this is not called hot mess espresso for nothing. Like I've got like a 90% grasp on the English language. But this is that 10%. Um, but yeah, speaking of your career, um, how did you get into philanthropy and your foundation and all that jazz?
Well, I was in the process of still figuring out my emotions and careers and what I wanted to do. It was all kind of around the same time, and I met a few cool people that my dad had been working with, but he was invited to go on a trip he couldn't go on. So I went in his place, and it happened to be to an orphanage in Africa. He just asked me to go because he's like, I want you to see everything. I want you to hear everything, and kind of come back to me. And I met a girl in an orphanage that her parents had died from AIDS, and she was
Oof.
about 2 years old, and I had just this crazy connection with her, and fell in love with these kids who, some of them themselves had HIV or AIDS and were really sick, and they would go and, like, get their treatment and then, like, feel sick for a while, but get up and, like, wanna go play soccer or cook or, learn another language, and they were doing these just amazing things, and I felt like, "What am I so upset about in my life? Like, what why do I feel like I have such a crappy life and I'm not living, like I'm not loving the opportunities that I have?" And I came back, said to my parents, I can't be in business anymore. I don't want anything to do with this." Um and I just was so lucky that my family took the time to really listen to me, and they started a little charity, that I it wasn't formal, but I ran it, and, from there, we had a lot of success in the businesses and decided to form a family foundation. Um, so it took a few years, and we formed our family foundation, and now I run it, and I absolutely love what I do because I feel like I can help people, I feel like sometimes broken people want to heal the world more than anybody, and that's kind of how I felt, is I want people to feel accepted, seen, heard, loved, understood, because I remember all of those moments that I felt so much love that I wanted to give, but I felt so unloved, and that was a
Right.
distorted perception. I had a lot of love, but I felt empty, and I felt like no one loved me, and I never wanted a person to feel that way, and that's why um, I'm so passionate about what I do now and everybody that I meet, and I don't ever go in with preconceived notions. I just go in as somebody that I want to hear what you're going through. I want to make a connection with you no matter where you're at in the world, no matter what you've been through. and I want us to try to figure out ways to make the world better, either for you or for somebody else. And I think that the journey of feeling so crappy for so long really just gave me this extra drive to really want to be engaged and figure out how to make it work. And so now I run our family foundation, but I also sit on the board of an NGO that works with embassies around the world. So it's great. I get to meet so many different people doing either incredible things or just who are incredible people. And I'm just able to kind of go at it with that. Let's figure out a way to love each other, and let's figure out a way to just do something really cool together. So it's been a wild journey, because you're also, while I was figuring all of that out for my career, I was trying to reprogram myself to be the best version of myself to do these things. So it's that internal battle with an external battle on a global front.
Right. Literal global.
Yeah, and it was great to also give my brain something to do that wasn't just turning inward,
Yep.
on beating yourself up or building yourself down or taking your, building yourself up, or it was, the world is beyond you,
Mhm.
and that, like, being able to do both kind of gave me this kind of great thing to do. But I still get, like, I get imposter syndrome like crazy sometimes, when I'm like ready for those, when you feel though that kind of fall coming,
Yep.
you're your worst critic. So it's like, oh, I'm just an imposter, or I'm just, not really doing great things. And you kind of start to, but luckily I've done enough work that I catch myself doing that. And I'm like, what are you doing? That you are continuing to do good things, and you will continue to do good things. And you just have to, like, remind yourself of that. Like, no, 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 I'm not going to allow myself to fall. I'm not going to
Yep.
allow myself to beat myself up. I'm going to just say, okay, well, what's your next thing that you want to do that's going to be good? And then that gives my mind something else to do than to berate myself.
Yeah, no, I deal with the same thing with the pot all the time. But again, like I'm doing something. I'm creating a community and stuff like that. And when it comes to empathy, you had mentioned on here and off camera, like having like the diagnosis and I guess the brain space that we have that gives you more empathy when working in philanthropy. But do you sometimes um feel like you feel too much empathy, especially when you're in these situations where it's just like, you can only do so much and you can't completely fix it, especially in, you know, half the projects that you've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the most devastating. Because it's, when you love so much, and you don't even have to, that's the weirder thing, is I don't have to know somebody for a long period of time
Mhm.
to be in love with them. And I don't mean that in love like, oh, romantic, you know what I mean by, like,
Yeah.
in love.
Just
You
feeling
just
those really
love.
intense feelings towards them.
Yeah, and you care so much about somebody that you hardly know, that you really
Mhm.
don't know. But you're like, no, like, I would do anything,
Right.
it causes you to fall harder when you feel like you let them down, or a project didn't really go as well as you wanted it to, or that you couldn't, I can't save that little girl, from what she's been through, and what she's going to continue to go through, or those kids that have to take those medicines for the rest of their, I can't save them.
Mhm.
And that was the hardest moment in realizing that. And because that, in the beginning of my philanthropic endeavors, the depression hit so bad. Like,
Oh my god, yeah.
the amount of nights that I just cried because I didn't do enough. And that was what I was always saying, is I didn't do enough and I failed these people. And I realized that I was looking at it wrong. I have an opportunity every day, and I do the best that I can. And I continue to do the best that I can. And that's what you have to remind yourself, is you don't have to change the world. If just for a moment you can change the world for a person,
Mhm.
that's the best thing that you can do, and everybody just wants to feel seen and heard and loved, and if I can just be that, I'm doing the best that I can. I
Right.
am, and I have to remind but I do have to remind myself of that, and it is a almost a regular thing, but I also started to kinda have a very, strange sense of humor about all of it, and I
Yeah, you get a
yeah.
very, very weird sense of humor going through what we get we go through.
Yeah, and, like, the I make jokes to myself, and honestly, thank God nobody can hear what goes on in my brain,
Mhm.
because there is always a joke that probably should not be said out loud in
They would
every
bring
situation.
they would bring the lobotomy back if they heard half the things that go on in my head.
Yeah, and that's I'll, like, make a joke to myself, but then really kind of remind myself of, "Okay, if you don't feel like you really helped, what can you do now? Then do something else. Figure out a way to do something else. Like figure it out." And that's my journey and my real job, my soul's job, I feel like, is to figure out how to do it and help and just keep helping and helping because I feel the most like I'm utilizing all something that would be considered a weakness or a flaw is one of my strongest things that I have to give to this world. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to look at it as something that's bad and negative and make myself sad. I'm going to look at it, my superpowers, and I'm going to use them every day and say, "Fuck it, I'm going to do better tomorrow then." And make myself get up, get dressed, get moving. If I need to cry, I cry. I cry a lot. I cry
Yeah,
yeah, I cry a
same.
lot and I feel but, like, you feel especially when you, like, really go crazy, like, just let it go. You're able to just be like, "Okay,
Yeah. It's
now
like
we
a
go."
literal physical release, and, like, I know with me, like, if I dive into the crying, I can, like, wallow for days, so I literally give myself 24 hours to feel the feelings, and then I'm like, "Okay, bitch, time to go."
Yeah.
Like,
I do the
the
same
world
thing,
keeps
that
turning.
24 hours. Yeah.
Like, you can feel sad, and that's not saying that, like, I'm not still in a depressive mood or anything like that, or, so I'm not, like, saying, like, "Oh, give yourself 24 hours and then it's over," because like, I know that's not physically possible for people. But for me, I'm like, I will give myself 24 hours to
Yeah.
thoroughly wallow in the shit, and
Mhm.
then the next day, I gotta figure it out.
Well, then that's when I have the conversation, like, with myself. I do the same
Mhm.
thing 24 hours because
Yeah.
that's a good amount of time, and you let yourself sleep a whole lot. Like, I let myself sleep, and I
Yeah.
eat whatever I want. That's another big thing for me. Then I'm like, "Give me cake." And,
Right.
I'll give myself that 24 hours, and then once I get out of that, I'm like, "Who are you serving? This isn't
Mhm.
serving you, and this isn't serving the world around you, and the longer you stay here and the longer you wallow in this, it becomes familiar again, and that's dangerous. You don't wanna
Yes.
feel familiar. You wanna
Yep.
be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is growth. So it's like I then am like, "Okay, now give service to somebody other than you." And whatever that means. That could mean, like, sending a stupid meme to one of my friends and laughing
Oh,
again
yeah.
and, just finding something that has more purpose to it than me just crying watching Forensic Files.
Oh my god, I love Forensic Files.
Right?
Um, but that's the thing, like, it's especially knowing how deep I can feel things, if I give myself more than that 24 hours, I'm fucked.
You the spiral, it
Yeah,
doesn't stop until you make it stop. I could stay
right.
in bed for I love those competitions that are like, "Could you stay in bed for a week?" I was like, "I
Pff,
bitch, I'm pretty sure I could do a year."
literally,
No problem. Yeah, no
literally.
problem. I'm pretty sure I did during COVID. I just, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, then, like, that's the thing is you just have to give yourself the time. I feel like a lot of us invalidate our own feelings and don't give we're just like, "No, we can't feel like that." But then there's that catch-22 of if you validate it, you're validating it for too long. So I was like, that's where I found my happy medium, my 24 hours of just feeling like absolute dog shit, and then the next day, I can still feel like dog shit, but
Mhm.
I got shit to do.
Yeah.
So you can still feel like that, and you can cry through responding to your emails, but you got to respond to those damn emails. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it
So
can physically hurt, like, I've the depression is beyond just, "Oh, I'm sad." No, you physically hurt. Yeah, and you feel sick, and light hurts, and eating food upsets your like, you feel like crap. It's not saying, "Oh, I'm just sad." No, it's
yeah,
everything. It hurts to exist, but you're not gonna let it win.
you can't.
You have to have that mindset of, "Yeah, I won't. I just won't. I'm not going to." And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get lost is it's comfortable. It's so comfortable to wrap yourself in that heavy, warm blanket of depression because you've done it your whole life. You understand it. It's familiar. It's an old friend that's a nasty friend but reliable.
Yeah, it's the toxic friend that you just can't get rid of.
Yeah. But then you choose like, no, I'd rather have, you know, be more. I'd rather be more and I just won't let it. And that was a big thing with me was that kind of that resilience of just no.
Yep. And I think being transparent with your friends too, like, hey, I'm going through it right now, so like I need a little bit more support. And my friends have been amazing at it. They'll check in, they'll call, um, and they just kind of like get me through it. There's been times where I'll call and I'm like, I need to fold laundry and I need a body double because it's not happening. Like I can't do it. And they'll like 10 minutes later, they're like, have you even touched your laundry? Let's go. Come on. And I need that accountability. And I know it sounds so stupid to like fold laundry, but it's when I'm in an episode, I like my support system is everything because I give myself that 24 hours, but I still have to be able to function through things. And that's when I lean on my circle to be like, nope, you gave yourself your 24 hours. Keep it moving.
Yeah, my animals are a big motivator for
Ugh,
that
same.
because it's like they love me no matter what and they rely on me. So could I not get out of bed? Yeah, but who's going to feed them? Who's going to
Yeah.
let them out? Who's going to love them? Like they rely on me to get up, take care of them, love them, keep moving, and
Yep.
they look at you, you are everything to them. So if you're not taking care of them, like, oh, come on. Like they are definitely a big motivator with me, but they're also really good at telling if you are in a funk
Oh, a
and kind
thousand
of like
percent.
yeah, like they'll definitely be a little more silly or a little more cuddly and it's like, "Oh, you can tell I'm just I need
Yeah.
this.
And
Thank you."
it definitely helps. But yeah, having that like little bit of a routine helps. Especially with, yeah, they need to get fed, they need to get let out. And like my dog, you're not, she will let you know. Like there is no hold on or anything like that. She will just sit there and bark in your face until it gets done. So you have to get up out of bed. You got to get your shit done. So
Yeah. They look at me and they're like, "We'll give you another 20 minutes and then
yeah,
you're gonna get up. You're gonna get up whether you like it or not."
yeah, like pretty much. Now, when it comes to people that might be interested in what you guys are doing with the foundation and how to find the foundation, how can people get more information?
So, we are the DeNicola Family Foundation DeNicola right there. DeNicolaFamilyFoundation.org, and it has, like, what we're up to, on there, but it has this great contact us page. That's me. So, if you ever just wanna, like, see something specific or talk, like fill that out and those emails go to me. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, and that again is me. So if you message either of those, it comes directly to me and I will respond with any insight, but I like to hear what people like to see in their communities and see more of. So just feel free to reach out and find us on the socials. And I am also on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me pretty easily.
Pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question before we let you go. What was like one of your favorite projects that you've done within the foundation?
Mm,
It can be all of them, but like just pick one.
favorite, really excited. We're building a community center in Italy right now, and it's in the town my grandfather grew up in. So it's a
Full
tiny
circle.
yeah, it's like this tiny old school village in the mountains 2 hours outside of Rome, and still old school. But they're so love, and the communities like on a little older, and the younger community goes to like the cities, you know.
Mhm.
And so we're building them a community center for them to use as they want. But I love it because we've been going back and forth to Italy and rediscovering our roots, and I love the people there, and they're just so welcoming and loving, and I didn't know that they how much they would be, you know, seeing this blonde showing up, and like with my wife too, and they're just so loving and welcoming, and it's great to be able to kind of see you where you came from, your, you know, your roots. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be doing that, but I'm also really excited we start a little kind of humanitarian award for grade school kids. Um and people are like nominating kids in these different schools that are doing little charities and little community outreach programs that they're kind of like coming up with on their own, and we're starting to give them a little award as well as some money towards whatever it is that they're doing to give back to their community. And I really love that because I think it will encourage the next generation that like doing good things is rewarded, and that you will get that recognition of actually caring about your community. So I think those are the two that I'm most excited about. But I mean, the rest of 2025 is pretty busy, and what we have, what the hopes of in 2026 should be pretty incredible. So we'll see.
I cannot wait to see where all of this takes you, Morgan. Thank you so much for being here, for being so vulnerable and open, and I'm just so grateful you're on.
Thank you so much. This was fun, and I always love our conversations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.